championships. And why do we bring this up? Well, we had a local resident, Fredericksburg's John Hurst, was involved. He won his first match of match play, but he dropped his second match, so he is done didn't make it to the quarterfinals or the semifinals. Hurst topped Trey Treadwell of Haymarket in his first matchup. 5-4 was the final in that first match, but then he fell to Martinsville's Dylan Jensen in 19 holes in the second match, so obviously Hurst gave it a good run, just couldn't pull out the victory. Another local golfer, Falmouth's Jimmy Delp, lost one up to Haymarket's Scott Shingler on Wednesday in another first-round matchup. That event, by the way, is being held in Charlottesville at the Farmington Country Club, so it's good to see a couple of local golfers do well. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it into the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals and semifinals are set to continue for the rest of this week on Thursday and Friday, with the championships, I believe, they're going to be held on July 4th, Saturday. Well, James Monroe has got a new girls basketball coach, Tracy Young, who coached the Yellow Jackets JV basketball team and led them to the 2011-2012 Battlefield District JV Championship, has been tapped as the new head coach for the Yellow Jackets varsity program. She replaces Don Joy. All Don did was lead the Yellow Jackets to a 21-3 record last season. The Yellow Jackets advanced to the 3A East Region semifinals. Young was an assistant coach at Riverbend for the past couple of seasons, but she's familiar with that young group that they have, including Shakira Austin, the freshman that has been touted as a very highly prized Division I prospect, so she should come into a pretty good situation.
Oh, definitely, and not only Shakira Austin, who looks like one of the Fredericksburg area's most talented girls basketball players in some time, but they've got a good young core around her. They've got some solid young players that are going to continue to grow, get better, and that program's going to look even better and better, I think, as time goes on. You said they went 21-3 last year, obviously a terrific season. They went through the regular season virtually unblemished. They were nearly perfect in the regular season. And, I mean, that's just a very strong team that she's taking over. I think that she knows the system. She obviously has been there before at James Monroe. I think there's going to be a lot of success there going on just because of the talent and the coach knowing what she's getting into.
Yeah, I think it's important to have somebody that's familiar with the girls that are on the roster, and the girls are familiar with her, so I think it's going to be a win-win situation for James Monroe's girls basketball program. But a nice job by Don Joy, as I mentioned. 21-3 last year, getting as far as the 3A East Region semifinals. That's where they fell. Well, the big news nationally, of course, I would think anyways, is the United States women's national team. I mean, for the second straight time, in fact, both teams in the finals in the World Cup Championship will be the same two who competed last time in the World Cup Championship, which I believe was 4 years ago. United States taking on Japan. Should be a good one.
Probably. You know, I was a little disappointed that we didn't get to see United States versus Germany in the final. I thought those were the two best teams. They played a really close game in the semifinal that really could have gone either way. And it was just a terrific game, and I think Japan will still give them a game. I think you've got two very good teams here, two that could definitely, going into the tournament, we thought were going to challenge for the tournament title. And anything really could happen between these two. We saw Japan won this last time around in 2011. And I think that it's really possible that Japan does pull off the bit of an upset here again against the United States, because they really haven't played all that well up until that Germany game.
Yeah, without a doubt, that Germany game was the best the United States has played so far in this World Cup tournament. And it was interesting because Jill Ellis, a lot of the so-called experts had been telling her, go to that 4-3-3, and she did. And defensively, she shut down a high-powered Germany attack. Now, Germany missed that penalty kick, which certainly helped. That gave some more momentum to the United States. But let's not take anything away. I watched most of that game. I thought the United States was the better team.
And they probably were, but it was really, really close. And when it's that close, that's a game that could go either way. Germany missed the penalty. USA scored on one that should not have been awarded a penalty. The second goal was terrific teamwork.
Exactly.
That was just an unbelievable goal. But you know, there's a lot of luck involved in this. And I think that, you know, it takes two things to win a game no matter what. One is luck, the other is skill. And the USA was getting a little bit more luck than skill in the games leading up to Germany, and that's when the skill just kind of took over. And I think that's really what's, if anything, they're going to have to continue that in order to beat Japan, who's, again, a very good team.
And let's kudos also to Abby Wambach, because she has been the star for the United States women's national team. But this World Cup, she has been really inserted late in games, like with about 10, 15 minutes to go. That's a nice little bonus to have coming off your bench, somebody with that kind of experience. But in Abby's favor, I mean, she hasn't complained. She apparently is. She really wants to win a World Cup. She, you know, I don't believe she's won a World Cup, so she really wants to win a World Cup. So hats off to her for not creating any kind of waves and not complaining, at least that we know of. And I'm sure the media would they would find a way to try to get her to get into some controversy. But hats off to an older athlete that realizes she's on the downside of the hill, and she's accepted her role, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, and I've been critical of head coach Jill Ellis in the past too, but I think she's found the right role for Wambach here. She's not a player that can play the whole game at the international level anymore, especially when you get against the teams like Germany and Japan. She's just not the same player that she used to be. But she still has great finishing skills. You get the ball to her in the box, and she's going to have a good chance of making that go in. Still creates a lot of scoring chances in the right scenarios, and that's a player that you can use off the bench in the last 20 minutes, 15, 10 minutes of games. And that's really important to have. And so even if it is a player that isn't necessarily as mobile as she used to be or as much has as much ball skills as she used to, that's definitely still somebody that you want on the team. And if you bring her off the bench, that could be a plus if the right things happen.
Back in '99 when the women's national team won the World Cup at the Rose Bowl in California, that really was the peak of women's soccer. Now, I'm not saying it's diminished a little, but I think it has diminished maybe a little because, Brandy Chastain, Mia Hamm, Julie Foudy, all those girls, all those women, brought women's soccer into the spotlight. What do you think? Do you think the interest in women's soccer has gone down at all, or do you think it's still, maybe not at the '99 level, but it's still pretty high?
I think the overall interest in women's soccer is higher than it used to be in '99, but the '99 team was such a sensation. And that was a quick thing. It wasn't meant to last at that point. There wasn't any big following about the NWSL or the equivalent leagues back then like there is now. So I think that overall the interest is higher, but the '99 team, that was just everybody was watching. Really just a true sensation there, and it was an absolute, sort of like Beatlemania, Elvis Presley sort of thing.
Exactly.
Like everybody was watching, and I don't even know if that's the case this year as the team heads into the final. But in 1999, my goodness, everybody that I could talk to was watching that.
Exactly. I don't know how you do the Beatles or Elvis. That's I don't know how you get it.
I listen to music, Mike.
All right, we're going to step aside on this edition of Sports Blitz. When we come back, NBA and NHL free agency frenzy. We talk about some of the moves that have been made. Plus, Justin Anderson, the local kid, goes 21st to the Dallas Mavericks in the first round of the NBA draft. We'll talk about that as well as we wrap things up on this edition of the Sports Blitz. Stay with us.